All right, so here are my three bold predictions for the Chinese Grand Prix. For starters, let's talk about my past predictions. So this is my sprint results predictions, and the top 10 were really correct until lap 16. I messed up, Lando and Lewis, but if you just switch those, then like it was pretty much correct. And then lap 16 happened, and sue me. So that's when prediction got terribly wrong. But I'm just gonna keep on riding this high for as long as I can. I predicted that Carlos Sainz was gonna win Melbourne, so maybe I'm right from time to time. I also really was bullish on Haas in the beginning of the season, and I think that's kind of borne out. So, with that in mind, let's talk about my three predictions. My first one is I think that we are going to see the beginning of the return of Danny Ricc. I think that this has kind of been their questioning. Like it's really like Schrodinger's driver. Like, is Daniel Ricc good? Is Daniel Ricc bad? It changes race to race, day to day, lap to lap, right? And I think that we're going to see Daniel Ricc probably come in seventh. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like seventh, eighth. I think he's going to score like 4-6 points, and it's be a good haul. And I think that Yuki is going to like really self implode this race. And not only that, I think Checo's going to self implode as well. I don't think Checo's ending this race number 2. I think he's probably ending 5 or 6, and I think that we're going to come out of this race with a huge Danny Ricc narrative. And the second reason for that is that with Checo tumbling through the field, like you look at this and you look at every single race so far, like you know if you look at the classifications, like it literally is like Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston, right? Like this is a constructor's world that we're living in, and if your second driver isn't pulling their weight, then the other two drivers below them are. And I'm going to go into what I think the points are going to look like after, and why I think that's going to put added heat on Checo, and we're going to see this whole Daniel Ricc narrative emerge, which would be complicated by the whole is Carlos going to Red Bull narrative as well. So stay tuned to that. All right. My second big prediction is I think that Fernando and Lewis are just going to crap out of this race. I think that Fernando's going to straight up DNQ, and I think that Lewis is just going to take a lot of, place 15 laps around the field. If you looked at the sprint, you saw that Fernando just gave up at one point. He just didn't care. And then Lewis, he did very well on the sprint, but then just completely shit the bed in qualifying. Was finished 18th. That's really not good. And he's a great, I won't call him a smooth operator because that's Carlos, but like he's a great operator, great racecraft, and like him against K-Mag and Joe and Pierre, if Lewis cared, he could very easily score, come in 9th, come in 8th, maybe even come in the top 5 if he really tried. But I don't think Lewis cares. I don't think Lewis tries. I think he sees this as him just putting in the time in order to go to the Ferrari, because I think that he's upset that he stayed at Mercedes last year. There's a whole Drive to Survive episode about it, and I think that he's just like, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. So with that in mind, I think that my third bold prediction, and like this, there's no real like bold predictions that you can make here. Like I think that everything's just kind of like go as planned, but here this is kind of as bold as we can make them. I think Haas are getting 9 and 10. I think Haas are gonna this whole year are gonna quietly pick up points here and there. Like you look at this, like Nico 3, K-Mag 1, like they're so terrible. Like oh my god, I don't know, they're in 7th. Like there's a clear top 5 to this F1 season that nobody expected Haas to break into, right? So anything 6th, like 6th is a massive accomplishment for them, right? Like 6 is as good as they can feasibly get this year, and I still think that they're going to get 6th. Danny Ricc scoring this race is going to complicate that for them. Maybe they're going to end up getting 7th, but I think this entire year, like the question is going to be, there's going to be the top 7 that's solidified. Right, like we all know it's going to be Max, Checo, Lando, Piastri, sorry, um, Sainz, Leclerc, and then Alonso or George, right? And I think in any given race, one or two of them, of George, Alonso, Stroll, or Hamilton, are going to DNQ, are going to underperform, and that leaves 2 to 3 spaces every single race to pick up points. So really, you're looking at 8 through 10. That's the question. And if Haas can consistently get 8 through 10 all year, then by the end of the season, we have 21 races, 2 points, 42 points. That's more than enough to get 6th place. I still think they're going to get 6, but I think it's more realistic now that they're going to get 7. So I think we're going to have a good Haas performance. I think people are going to completely miss this Haas performance until the end of the year when everyone's going to be like, oh my god, look how great Haas is. And when they do, you heard it here first. When they do, if you haven't subscribed already, you're gonna subscribe because you'll be like, oh wow, Paul's on to something. And not only that, you're gonna send this to 5 of your friends, and you're gonna tell 5 of your friends to subscribe too, because you say, hey, Paul might know his shit a little bit, just a little bit. Obviously not when it comes to Chinese sprint races, because I completely fucked that up. This is Vietnamese, by the way. This is a Sriracha shirt. This isn't a Chinese shirt. I'm not like mocking them or anything. By the way, like one thing I kind of want to point out that I think is kind of funny is like I'm in Brazil right now. It's 8 p.m. I'm making this video right now. I'm about to go to sleep because the race tomorrow is at 4 a.m. And I'm going sailing later in the day, so like I don't want to like be sleepy, so I'm going to sleep now. But like, look, in Brazil, this is how little they care about F1. Formula One sides wins Australian Grand Prix. That's their headline. This race was a month ago. they just do not give a shit. I've noticed this like traveling around the world is that different countries like really care differently. Also, like one thing that I think is funny as well is that like, yeah, I'm not even getting into that. All right, so what do I think the race is going to end up on? I don't know if I want to post this on Twitter or not, but I'm just going to end the video with this because I don't feel super confident, but this is just kind of like my prediction. Max Verstappen obviously wins. Then we get Lando, Piastri, Lando with the fastest lap. Then I think that we get the Ferraris. Like the big question week to week is who's going to come in third. I mean, which team's going to come in second? Is it going to be McLaren or is it going to be Ferrari? I think this week is McLaren. It's going to be a great fight. Like one thing that people, like a lot of people complain about this whole Max Verstappen winning everything. But I think the beauty of F1 as a sport is that like the race between third and fourth is just as interesting, if not more interesting, than winning first, right? Like in every other sport, the only thing that we care about is who wins the championship. But like in Formula One, like you have all of these interesting battles going on throughout the entire field, and if you actually like the sport, like that's the interesting part, right? Anyway, so I think that we get Lando, Piastri, Sainz, Leclerc. I think Sainz is going to keep on beating Leclerc all year. I think Sainz is going to, I think he has this like huge chip on his shoulder. And I also think that he's going to get the Red Bull seat. So my real hot take is I think that Sainz in equal machinery might beat Max Verstappen. But there should be another video for that some other time. Anyway. Then we get Sainz, Leclerc, Checo. As I said, I think he's going to drop down in the field. Daniel Ricc is going to come in 7th. George Russell shit the bed this, but, that's just going to happen from time to time. Then we get Nico K-Mag. Like, the K-Mag going up seems weird because K-Mag is starting 17th. But you have to remember, like, past 10th place, these positions really don't mean much. And, like, these drivers are so bad, they can really just move up and down at will. That's why like a lot of people are suggesting that we give out points for 11 through 20. Like they restructure it so that there's some points. But I actually disagree. I think if you can't get in the top 10, you don't deserve any points. And that like the difference between 9th and 8th is actually like a real big difference. And there's a huge amount of effort that comes in to going from 9th to 8th. But going from 17th to 15th, I think that's just the roll of the die, and I don't think you deserve any points for that. Anyway, from there we have Valtteri, Lance shits the bed, as always, Zhou Guanyu, Lewis, I think he just kind of drives around in the back, maybe he has a bad pit stop, he just gets angry, we get a lot of those messages, this will be standard Lewis now. Yuki, Albon, Logan, Gasly, Ocon, I think that Alonso, not DNF, sorry. Alonso does not finish. I think he gets some like tire trouble, but really he got paid. He doesn't give a shit, right? And so here's what the standings look like afterwards. Max Verstappen, Checo, Leclerc, Sainz, Lando, Piastri, Russell, Alonso, Lewis. And then constructors, we got Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren. As I said, I think that Ferrari, McLaren is going to be a very interesting battle throughout the season. I think Mercedes and Aston is going to become a really interesting battle as well. Some people joke that, like, the big question is, like, how much does Lawrence really love his son? Like, he has to put a dollar amount on it because he's literally losing a place because of it. Anyway, so then we have Red Bull and Haas as the big fight in the kind of midfield. Like, how do you describe what this is? Because this isn't a typical top three, then the best of the rest. Like, the best of the rest is kind of sixth this year. So I think that's a fight between Red Bull and Haas, and then Sauber, Williams, and Alpine. I love that Alpine's shitting the bed. I hate France. I hate French people. I hate Pierre Gasly. It's just the whining that he did when he lost that Red Bull seat. Like, bro, like you sucked at Red Bull. Why are you acting as if the greatest injustice has ever been done to you? Like you sucked. You lost that seat, and you got that seat. You looked into it, and you sucked. And then you lost it. Like, why are you so bad? Anyway, he also does this stare, like, I can't find it, but, like, he does this stare a lot in Drive to Survive, or just does the, it's like, bro, you're not tough. Like, come on. Anyway, I also hate Ocon, obviously, and I hate that they got rid of Otmar. I hate that Pierre was brought in by Otmar. Ocon, was Ocon brought in by Otmar? No, he wasn't. But Pierre was brought in by Otmar, and then he fired him. Like, that's just fucked up. So I think they're getting karma what karma is bringing to them. And yeah, that's my Chinese Grand Prix preview. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't wait until I'm right about Haas. Like, just do it now. Or get like 5 people to subscribe. What the fuck's wrong with you? What are you doing with your life? Like, seriously. Like, you're sitting here watching this YouTube video and you can't even get someone to subscribe? Fucking idiot. Just kidding, but seriously. Click subscribe. Anyway, till next time.